Hey guys, it is the Hope Daily vlogcast. How you doing anyway? We are still waiting for our baby to arrive, so Abby's a little bit late. So please be praying for us. I'm just going to run through a couple of announcements I'm going to run through a couple of announcements ever so quickly, and then we're going to get into it. Make sure you guys say hello, and then I know who's watching as well. So announcements wise, obviously. You probably already know this, but on Sunday morning at 10:30, we've got a live interactive service. And I think we're also doing a Sunday night service as well in front of a live studio audience. And we did it last week and it seemed to go really, really well. We also did another service. It was a couple of days ago. I think it was Thursday. And that was with the guys from the Church in the Marsh. And that seemed to go well. So everything seems to be ramping up. Lockdown. Hey Jane, lockdown seems to be coming to something of an end, which is kind of cool because but it's been forever, hasn't it felt like forever? The other thing, guys, you need to know is on a Monday night at 7:30, we normally do the Something More podcast, and we are taking a break for a couple of weeks from that. So there you go. Guys, I don't know if your parents ever used to say this to you when you were young, but I remember when I was young and I would do something. Sometimes it was when I was like 13 and 14 and I'd been drinking like cheap cider. Or in Scotland, I grew up in Scotland, they used to have this thing called Buckfast wine. And Buckfast was basically wine and it was filled with caffeine. They blamed it for youth violence anyway. And it had numbers on the bottom, and the thicker the number, the thicker the wine, the higher the number. And it's made by monks. Can you believe it? I see Brian sending me an emoji. Brian has probably drank Buckfast tonic wine. It's hideous stuff. But I remember sometimes mum would say to me, "Look, have you been drinking?" Or sometimes I was high or whatever. Or she'd say, "Where were you? You know, were you at school today?" And I would lie to her as I would, and she said, "Look, I can tell by the look in your face that you're lying to me." Did that guys happen? Has that happened to you guys? Or sometimes with our kids, you know, you might say, or I might say to Timothy, that's our 4-year-old, did you eat the chocolate cookies or the biscuits? And there'd be chocolate all over his face. And he'd have that guilty look about him. And he'd be like, no. And I'm like, I can tell by the look on your face and the fact that you've got chocolate all over your face that you are lying to me. And I was just thinking about that as I was reading this passage. And I just wanted to share it with you. So this is from Exodus chapter 34, very familiar passage within the scripture. I've not got this on the stand, so it's a wee bit shaky, but you guys can handle that. And here's what it says in Exodus chapter 34. It's the story of Moses. It says, when Moses, verse 29, when Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of the testimony in his hands, that's the 10 commandments, as he came down from the mountain, Moses did not know that the skin of his face shone because he had been talking with God. The way I kind of think of it is, like an Essex girl with that really bad fake orange tan. That's just a joke. If you're from Essex, we love you. Okay, verse 30. Aaron and all the people of Israel saw Moses, and behold, the skin of his face, it shone, and they were afraid to come near him. But Moses called to them, and Aaron and all the leaders of the congregation returned to him. And Moses talked with them. Afterward, all the people of Israel came near, and he commanded them all that the Lord had spoken with him on Mount Sinai. And when Moses had finished speaking, he put a veil over his face. So basically what happens is Moses goes to Mount Sinai. He speaks to God, and as he's speaking to God, something of his appearance, it changes. It's hard to kind of really know what exactly it's talking about, but something of the glory of God is radiating upon his face. And I think, in fact, the New Testament will pick this up and saying, if that's what happened to him under the law, what should happen to us under grace? And I remember when I first got saved, I was a really angry young guy, always down, always depressed, always very kind of melancholy. And I remember when I got saved, I remember I smiled for 3 days. My face ached. I was smiling so much. And I remember my friends saying to me, look, what's going on? They thought I was high. They were like, what are you on? They're like, and I told them that I'd come to faith, and they're like, my word, you even look different. Some people were saying, look, Steve, it's like you're glowing. And obviously that began to fade, but I do think that as we look more and more onto God, and as we look more and more onto Christ, our appearance should change. Not so much in a physical sense, but that people should know that we are in the presence of the Lord. It's interesting, isn't it, that when you've got friends who are around certain people, you know, their behavior begins to change and the way they speak begins to change. There was a girl who was a part of our church, in the church I was a student pastor in, and she went out to Australia for 2 years to work, and she was British, and she came back and she was speaking with an Australian twang in her accent. You could tell, not so much by her appearance, actually she was incredibly tanned when she came back, but you could tell by the way she spoke that she had been in a different place. And I think as followers of Jesus, it's important that our life, the way we look and the way we speak, it kind of reflects something of the glory of God. And I think far too many of us are wasting our time binging on Netflix. Too many of us are wasting our time filling our minds and filling our hearts with the stuff that's not really, really important. Your wife and your kids and your friends and your neighbors and your work colleagues, even if you're just talking to them from Zoom, they should know about through the way you speak and your appearance. Hey, Dave Hyam. They should be able to tell that you are in the presence of the Lord. How will they be able to tell? Here's some of the things. Maybe it's the stuff like the fruits of the Spirit. You know, there's more joy, there's more peace, there's more patience. You know, you're not losing your mind. You're not. And I'm not saying that we don't feel fearful sometimes, but you are not incapacitated by fear. You're someone who is willing to have a go. Hey, Dave. I was watching your Zoom video the other day. Really good. Your ministry is going really, really well, mate. And yeah, love you, man. And you guys are flipping brilliant. Guys, if you don't know about the Well community, you need to check out the Well community. I did an interview with Dave Hyam on the Something More podcast. It was one of the first ones I did. It was one of my favorite ones. But you guys need to check out the Well community. They basically help people struggling with addictions. They also help their families as well. And some of you are going to give me grief, but Dave's a Scouser, and Scousers are blinking cool. Do you know what I mean? So you need to check them out. But anyway, I'm losing my chain of thought. You can tell. In fact, you can tell with Dave Hyam that something has changed within his life. You can tell in my life that something has changed, but it needs to become more apparent and it needs to become more evident. And the more you look at Jesus and the more you look at the gospel and the more you look at the scriptures, you begin to change in your personality. You begin to change in the way you speak. You begin to change in the way you act. So that's it from me, guys. Totally love ya. Hope you have an amazing day. The weather sucks, but don't let that get you down. It's all good. And that's about it, really. So take care and make sure you are staring into the face of God and you are allowing something of the presence of God to change your appearance.